comes over to me, she looks down at me, she goes, "Help! God, I want you to get up. I want you to be like a cheerleader." Somebody else goes, "Don't say a word." I don't like it. And my parents always taught us that every generation gets better. I even have to be better than that. Why didn't you tell us? My dad believed in me as much as my brother. It was so exhilarating to win that first one. You know, I see the cup now, and now it's even named after me. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Lovely. Thanks very much. Yeah, when you're ready.
You ready for us to go?
Hi.
Billie Jean, welcome.
Thank you.
This series is all about talking to inspiring women in tennis specifically, and specifically around the Billie Jean King Cup. So who better to speak to than you, really? And I want to jump in and start by asking you about who are the women that served as the biggest inspiration for you, even now or at the beginning of your career, at the beginning of your tennis life?
Well, as a child, I used to read my history, and my first shero was Althea Gibson, who I got to see live at the Los Angeles Tennis Club when I was 12 or 13 years old. And I knew I wanted to see what number one looked like. And like, oh gosh, she plays so well, I'm gonna have to be better than that. And my parents always taught us that every generation gets better. So I'm saying, I even have to be better than that probably. And they're right, every generation does get better. She was my first one though. And then Alice Marble, who won the Triple Crown here in 1939. Played mixed with Bobby Riggs, which is even more ironic. She taught me. I was lucky enough to get time with her for like 2 or 3 months when I was 15, and my ranking totally jumped. I was like number 19 in women's in the US, and the next year I was number 4. And it's because of Alice Marble and all the knowledge she gave me. And I remember everything she told me. You know, like she walks out and goes, "Come over here, stop, you know, stand on this service line. You see this? Everybody thinks these are gimmies. They're not gimmies." Boy, I can remember that so clearly, and everything else too. But I don't know, I think each generation, I've seen a lot of different generations come and go. And I'm always inspired by every generation, you know, different people, different reasons, different progress in our sport, on and off the court. But, you know, the 3 guys, Djokovic, you know, Federer and Nadal were just, Nadal for his intensity, his grit, and then you get Federer as more of a beautiful player, classic. It was always so funny because all the adults loved Federer and all the kids loved Nadal when I would ask, "Who do you like?" And that's what they'd always say to me. It was either one or the other. I'm not sure why. Well, I think it's the grit and the intensity, and maybe, I don't know. I asked them why. Yeah, it's generational though. It's so sweet. And then, you know, as far as the women, there's just been so many unbelievable players as well. I'm lucky to have been a part of their lives, even playing doubles with Martina Navratilova, Chris Evert. Their rivalry was probably the best ever. They had 80 matches, which is in boxing or other sports. Most people don't play each other or compete against each other, you know, 80 times, and they were almost even. So their matches, because they had a contrast of styles, were just amazing. And then all the generals, Stephanie Graf, her footwork was just, oh my God. She wants to be called Stephanie now. You know, it was always Steffi. But she's, "I really want to be called Stephanie." I'm like, "Why didn't you tell us?" So anyway, she wants Stephanie, and then there's just so many great ones. And right now, I think women's tennis continues to have more and more depth because women's sports, we have more women playing sports. And so our depth is getting amazing. Anybody can beat anybody on a given day. I think, yeah, it's quite amazing.
And you mentioned at the beginning that a coach Alice, who was your coach when you were during your formative years. I mean, having a strong female role model in sport isn't a given, and even now, and back then maybe wouldn't have been a given. I just wonder what an impact it had to have a woman kind of to inspire you in that moment.
Very inspiring. But my dad believed in women, and my mother as well. But my dad really would talk about it. My dad believed in me as much as my brother. And he was really my life coach. So I had a huge male influence, but how he influenced me is what's important. That you need to go for it. You need to believe in yourself just as much as a male. That carried over. And then when you meet Alice Marble and you meet Althea Gibson, it just carries over. Because I kind of got the okay at home that women count just as much as men. So when I'm watching a male or a female, I just think they're great. I don't think about their gender that much.
And when you think of the people that inspire you, what's the kind of common thread then that runs through them? Is there a common quality that you look for, that you take inspiration from?
I like it when they think about we and not me. That's major for me. If it's just about themselves, the interest kind of wanes pretty quickly. But if it's a we person, then I really want to get inside their head, because they've thought a lot more about things, and not just about their little pathway. And I think we need more of that in our sport. But they're at a different time. They got more money, and now they've got agents, they've got all these people around them. We didn't have any of that. We couldn't afford a coach, so we had to depend on each other. So our relationships were very strong. They still are today, which I think is fantastic. You know, Rosie Gonzalez, Betty Stove, Ann Jones, all of them. Like, we see each other, done. It's like the guys with their fraternities. It's just the same way for girls, you know. So it's pretty exciting.
I love that. And I mean, you have so many memories as a player and as captain in this competition, in the BJK Cup.
I love being captain.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that, because you captained some of the all-time greats, the Williams
No kidding,
sisters.
you think?
Yeah, Monica Seles. I mean, too many to name, but I wonder, what did you learn from them as captain?
Oh, I learned constantly from them. And also to be a leader. How do you lead? How do you make sure they know you care about them as a human being, not just go to win for the, you know, team or the country or whatever, which was very important to me though too. Yeah. I spent so much time listening and asking questions to each one. Like, I had a meeting with each player by themselves, then I had team meetings, but the first meeting I always had the whole staff, the support team and the players, and I introduced each other, and I told the team how important the support team is. Well, whether it's a physiotherapist, a massage therapist, administration, whatever, they are just as important as each and every one of us. And I must say it made a difference, I think. We also, every Wednesday of the week, I would make sure we all went out to dinner, but we were there to thank the support staff first on Wednesday. On Wednesday, I'd also, during the day, would have a team meeting and make sure we go around to each player and analyze who we're playing. And I would always tell them, you know more than I do because you're still playing and you're playing against these players. So I'd like each one of you to contribute to about who we're playing and what are your thoughts, what are their strengths, what are their weaknesses, what have you noticed, how did you beat them, or how did they beat you, why? And we would go around to each player, and I said, you guys know more than I do because you're still playing, so I really need you to do this. And they were fantastic. I knew it threw them for a loop though, because it took a beat, like they're going, oh, I got to think about this, because I pretty much put them in my role in a way. Yeah. Like, they're going to help tell the team they played so-and-so and this is how they won or they had trouble with or whatever. But I said, you guys have more knowledge, you're playing against them, I'm not. So I really wanted them to contribute, and I also thought it would bring us together more as a team. Actually did, but to have the support staff Wednesday night to tell them thank you to dinner was very important, because I wanted them to understand it's all of us. Everyone matters, and without them, you wouldn't be able to play. You wouldn't have the life you have. And then that created more of a connection, because relationships are everything. And then Friday night, only the team had dinner with the two coaches. Like, Zena Garrison was a coach one year, and I said, you're coming, but nobody else can come but the team. It was hilarious. Venus and Serena made it so hilarious, I cannot tell you. I don't know what year it was. All I know is we just laughed and laughed and laughed on our Friday night, which is right before the matches, which put everybody in a good mood. And I hope we won that year. We must have won. We were in such a good mood. And, you know, I had the greatest players ever in the world. And I knew it at the time. I used to tease them. I said, oh, I've only got 4 number ones here, 4 former ones or number ones now. Oh, this is not too shabby for a coach, you know, or for a captain. And we'd get them laughing. But they were amazing, and we had so much fun. At least I did. I shouldn't say we. I had a lot of fun with them. They were hilarious.
I mean, it sounds so interesting to hear you talk about that kind of behind the scenes, especially because on the outside, like you say, you had 4 world number ones. And
Monica Seles was fantastic. She was great. Very organized. I think in a way some of us are almost OC, the way we do our little habits. Tracy Austin, Monica, all of them, they had their rituals. I always had mine. And it was quite funny to see everyone's rituals, or weren't into them either. Their water had to be in a certain place, the towel had to be folded a certain place, the racket had to be a certain way. When they sit with you, some players don't want you to say a word. This is another thing, I always ask players before, do you like a lot of enthusiasm from me or none? Or a little, what do you want? Like Mary Jo Fernandez, God, I want you to get up. I want you to be like a cheerleader. I love your energy. I get it. Somebody else goes, don't say a word. I don't like it. You know, so I would check in with every one of them before the weekend to make sure I know what they like and don't like. That's really a major thing to cope with.
Of course,
and
you
then
have so many different personalities.
Oh, and then you've got some players who keep changing. They want you to talk and then they want you to be quiet. Oh, that's a good one. She knows who she is.
Not naming names there.
Well, she knows. She probably would tell you the same thing. I can ask her if she'll tell you.
And I
don't want to, it's private.
Yeah, no, of course. You're a team. You've got to keep some things within the team. And I mean, they must have learned so much from you too.
Oh, I doubt it, but I learned from them. No, I don't know what they learned.
They must have learned from you.
But can you imagine having 4 number ones?
Yeah, but you're a former world number one as well.
I know, but that's like, I just took a beat, and thank God how lucky I was to have. I mean, some captains never get anybody like that. They're just struggling, and you want to win for your country so badly. You know, it's just, at least most of the players that ever played that I know just really were on the line with that. And you know, I was 19 and I got to play in the very first one in London at Queen's Club. Now Billie Jean King Cup. It was Federation Cup, and it was the 50th anniversary of the ITF's birthday. That's the reason I started it. And I was the second best player. Darlene Hard was our best player, and Carol Caldwell was our player. She and I are probably a toss-up. And I had known Darlene. Darlene helped me when I was also young. You see all the help I got? But I wanted it too. The players, they don't want older players to be around them all, like get lost, my coach is my guy, or my whatever. I think it's a mistake, because I love talking to all the older players. I probably have over 100 years. Kitty Gottfried, who won 22 and 24 maybe, she was my first one. Dorothy Round I would talk to in the locker room. I mean, I have all these players throughout, every one of them. Margaret DuPont, Louise Bruff, Maureen Conley, Shirley Fry. But Darlene was so nice to me at 13. Althea Gibson, when I first saw her, I talked to Louise Bruff. Margaret DuPont was my Whiteman Cup captain. She was fantastic, and I just asked for their stories. Just listen to their stories. Fascinating. And you learn so much from them. But they all love playing Whiteman Cup, and then they wanted to, of course, when they're older, wish they could have played Fed Cup or Federation Cup or Billie Jean King Cup now. And I know Margaret DuPont wanted to give them a trophy for the Federation Cup, and they said no. They made their own, which is beautiful. But I remember being at Queens and just yelling at the team. I've told the story 1,000 times, so sorry if you've heard it. But I said to Carol and to Darlene, and our captain was Mr. Kellogg, who's part of our USLTA then, and he fell off the bench once. Oh my God, he was so excited, he fell off. We all had to run over and pick him up. But we were going to play at Queen's Club on the grass. We had 16 teams the first year. They were invited, and it rained, so we went indoors on the board. Oh my God, it's so fast. Everything's like a half volley or no backswing, and you have to bunt the ball. But I kept saying we have to win the first one because I love history. And they're saying, I'm not her again. I know I was driving them crazy, but you guys, you don't get it. For the rest of our lives, on this cup, it's going to say USA if we win. If we don't, we're going to remember that we lost to whoever wins, probably. So we won, but we were down match points to Australia. Margaret Smith at that time, now Margaret Court, and Leslie Turner, who's now Leslie Turner Bowery. We played against them. And they definitely were the 2 top players in the world. And we were down near the end, and I remember yelling at Darlene, because I could feel her kind of like, we're going to lose this. And I'm like, we have to win this. I was yelling at her, and she started laughing. Okay. And we won, but we were down match points. It was, and on boards, it's so hairy. It was so exhilarating to win that first one. And then, you know, I see the cup now, and now it's even named after me. I'm like, oh my gosh. And there it is, USA. So I get so excited, and I always remember that. And here's Darlene Hart, who helped me when I was 13. I'm on the team with her. I mean, it couldn't have been better. Mr. Kelly was a riot, falling off the bench. We had to pick him up. Oh my God, he said, I'm so nervous. You know, everybody gets so nervous when it's more than yourself, bigger than yourself. It's very interesting. There's a different edge to it than when you play in a tournament. I think for me personally, it's the most important thing. I've got to win when it's for my country. It's more than yourself. When you go and play in tournaments, to me it was always more than myself, but it's different. It's got there's a lot more pressure.
I bet. You were talking there about kind of wanting to lead the team or wanting to will the team to win. You've been held up as a leader for your whole life in a lot of ways. I wonder, do you remember the moment you first realized that people were kind of looking to you to lead, and how did it feel? How did that responsibility feel for you?
Well, one thing I learned as a child, looking back, realizing certain things. I remember in 4th grade, I think I was secretary of the bicycle committee, but everybody was always pushing me to lead. I remember in 6th grade, they were all pushing me to lead. The kids, followers choose leaders. Leaders don't choose followers. And these kids, you know, my schoolmates always pushed me. I wasn't president of the school. I didn't run. You have to run to get voted on. But in everyday life, like in the morning at 8:30, there'd be a bell, and we'd run to the fence and choose teams. Well, I was either number 1 or 2 with Jerry Cromwell. We always won the race. And so we were the captains, and we would choose teams. And the main thing I remember, I didn't choose the top kids all the time. I would choose the worst kids sometimes first, or in the middle. And he or she were so, especially this one little guy, he was so happy that I would choose him, because he was always last, and that is horrible for them. So I kept mixing it up, because we're all going to choose everybody anyway. So don't do the worst one last. That's horrible for this child. You know, just put yourself in his shoes. I would hate that. So sometimes I choose him first. And this one little guy, he was so happy. And everybody was saying, why did you get him? He's the worst player. I said, because we're gonna be divided anyway, totally. Does it matter, really? I said, does it? And they went, yeah, I guess it doesn't. So I think you have to think about inclusion, which I did. And my brother and I are really the anti-bully too. In the neighborhood, like if anybody was, like my brother was the same way at school. If somebody was getting picked on, my brother would go over and say, you touch one hair on their head, you got to deal with me. They never touched them again. But you've got to understand what people are, like, try to understand what others are feeling, and not about yourself all the time. But I don't know, I enjoyed it. It's nerve-wracking, it's hard, lose sleep, like when we really wanted to change tennis. Whew, that was hard times. I still want to, though. Nothing changes.
Job's not
no,
done.
because as a child I had a vision for what I wanted for our sport. I wanted inclusion. I don't like all white, like they've gone back to all white at Wimbledon. I don't like that. I love team. I grew up in basketball, volleyball, everything but individual. So maybe that's why I lead. I'm more of a team person. But I think you have to, how do you make them the best they can be, really? Like as a captain for the cup, how can I make these players, what do I do or not do, sometimes not doing anything, to make them the best they can be today and for the future, like when they leave here too. And that constantly was, you know, and then be observant with them and their families. Just be observant, just watch. And then when I would ask a question, I'd always listen to what they said, but their body language spoke much louder than what they're saying, much louder. So I'm really big on reading body language. I'd say it's 95% of what they really mean. The 5% is what they're saying, but what are they feeling and meaning? And it's the body language you watch.
Love that. Just to finish off, I mean, tennis has been an anchor and a joy in your life, and I know that team competition is so important to you. What's the biggest thing you've learned through this sport, and in particular through the team element of the sport, which is quite rare, but obviously a real privilege when you got to be part of it?
The great thing about singles, if you're just thinking singles, but I like doubles and mixed better, is that you're on your own. There's no substitutions. This is it. It's like duke it out, like boxing, one-on-one, and you know you're it. You've got to prevail, you've got to finish, and take full responsibility. That's it. And you know when you're on a team, you'll come off and say, God, I blew that for the team. In singles, you know you either won or you lost, and that's it. Bing, gonna bing, right?
Yeah.
And so it teaches you to have strength and resilience just on your own. But then when you play the team, then you have to. I would shift, you know, internally and how I'd approach it. Now it's not just about me. Now it's about us, and we have to do the best we can. My job is to take care of each and every one, and the way Pressures of Privilege and Champions Adjust happened, it was in 2000, I think. I was the captain, and we were playing against Spain. And Lindsay Davenport, who's hilarious, really articulate. She's a great announcer now, and she's the captain of the American team. She's 6'3", and I'm about 5'4", and well, 5'5", maybe 5'5.5" then. And she comes over to me, and I'm sitting on the bench, and it's right before she's going to play Arantxa Sanchez Vicario, who drives her crazy. Okay. She loses to her. She's a tough one for her. She comes over to me, she looks down at me, and she goes, help! And I stand up, and of course I'm still looking like this. I go, yes, what, whoa, whoa, help me. I got to play Arantxa. You know how I hate playing her. I go, Pressures of Privilege and Champions Adjust. She goes, oh, I really like that. Okay, great. I said, what did I just do? I like those things. She loved them. So that's how I got Pressures of Privilege. Was that moment in time. I had to come up with something for Lindsay. How can I help her? This is major. And Arantxa did have her number in a lot of ways. I mean, and she ended up beating her in the Olympics in '96. I mean, so Lindsay was so happy. And now she's the captain of the U.S. team. She says, man, this is tough. She called me and says, what do I do? This is really rough. I said, yeah, welcome. And of course, she doesn't remember when she was a player. She does remember now. She says, oh my God, I must have been so tough on you. She says, it's so funny now. And now she's got children. Her son, Jagger, is totally into tennis. He's playing junior, he's into it. She says, can you believe I got a kid that loves tennis? Because she comes from, her mother was volleyball, and they're into swimming. You know why she stayed in tennis as a kid, at 5, 6 years old?
Why?
And this is so important, everyone, that to keep people in tennis. I said, well, why did you stay in tennis? She says, oh, my friends were at the club, the tennis club. My friends. Relationships are everything. I'm telling you, it's the friendships, it's depth, and then when you're on the team, every time I see Mary Jo or Monica or Lindsay or all these kids, or Venus or Serena, all these players that played, and there's others. There's Shaughnessy. I mean, I've got a lot of others. Fernandez. I mean, tons. And there's a bond there that you can never break.
That's brilliant. I think we're going to finish it there. Thank
You
you
think
so
you get
much.
what you need?
Yeah, thank you so much.
You just
Billie
got me
Jean.
going. I got more.
That was brilliant. Such incredible stories.